Chapter 28. Talk to the face, because that's pretty much all he's got. Blitz led us down the esplanade, where a pier extended into an icy lagoon. At the base of the dock, a candy-striped pole listed sideways. This is where they do gondola rides in the summer, I said. I don't think we're going to find one now. We just need water. Blitz sat on the dock and unzipped the bowling bag. Oh, gods, Sam peered inside. Is that human hair? Hair? Yes, Blitz said. Human? No. You mean... She pressed her hand to her stomach. You're not serious. You work for him? You brought him here? He insisted. Blitz pushed down the sides of the bag, revealing, yep, a severed head. The most messed up thing about that, after 2 days in Valhalla, I wasn't even surprised. The beheaded man's face was shriveled like a month-old apple. Tufts of rust-colored hair clung to his scalp. His closed eyes were sunken and dark. His bearded jaw protruded bulldog style, revealing a crooked row of bottom teeth. Blitz unceremoniously shoved the head in the water, bag and all. Dude, I said, the State River Authority is not going to like that. The head bobbed to the surface of the lagoon. The water around it bubbled and swirled. The man's face inflated, his wrinkles softening, his skin turning pink. He opened his eyes. Sam and Harth both knelt. Sam elbowed me to take a knee. Lord Mimer, Sam said, you honor us. The head opened his mouth and spewed water. More came out of his nostrils, his ears, and tear ducts. He reminded me of a catfish dragged from the bottom of a lake. Man, I hate... The head coughed more water. His eyes turned from chalk white to blue. I hate traveling in that bag. Blitzen bowed. Sorry, Capo. It was that or the fish tank, and the fish tank breaks easily. The head gurgled. He scanned the faces on the dock until he found me. Son of Frey, I've come a long way to speak with you. Hope you appreciate it. You're the mysterious classified boss, I said. Harth and Blitz have been watching me for 2 years because they got orders from a severed head. Show some respect, boyo! Mimer's voice reminded me of a longshoreman down at Union Hall, their lungs half nicotine, half seawater. Harth frowned at me. Told you, C-O-P-O. C-A-P-O. Capo means head. Why surprised? I'm Mimer, said the head. Once I was mighty among the Aesir. Then came the War of Veneer. Now I got my own operation. His face was so ugly it was hard to tell whether he was giving me an ugly look. Did Frey cut off your head? I asked. Is that why you're mad at me? Mimer huffed. I'm not mad. You'll know when I'm mad. I wondered what that meant. Maybe he would gurgle more threateningly. Your dad was part of the reason I lost my head, though, said Mimer. See, as part of the truce to end the war, the 2 godly tribes exchanged hostages. Your father, Frey, and his father, Njord, lived in Asgard. The god Onir and I, we were sent to live in Vanaheim. I'm guessing that didn't go well? More water spouted from Mimer's ears. Your father made me look bad. He was this great general among the Vanir, all golden and shiny and handsome. He and Njord got all kinds of respect in Asgard. As for me and Onir, the Vanir weren't so impressed. No kidding. Well, Onir was never very, how you say, charismatic? The Vanir would ask his opinions on important business. He'd mumble, yeah, whatever, it's all good. Me? I try to pull my weight. I told the Vanir they should be getting into casinos. Casinos. Yeah. Busloads of retirees coming to Vanaheim, easy money. And the Vanir had all these dragons. I told them racetracks in the sky with dragons. They'd make a killing. I looked at Blitz and Harth. They seemed resigned, like they'd heard this story many times before. So, anyway, said Mimer, the Vanir didn't like my worthy counsel. They felt cheated in the hostage swap. As a protest, they cut off my head and sent it to Odin. Shocking. When they could have had casinos, Sam coughed loudly. Of course, great Mimer, both Aesir and Vanir honor you now. Magnus didn't mean to insult you. He is not so stupid. She glared at me like, you are so stupid. Around Mimer's head, the water bubbled faster. It trickled from his pores and streamed from his eyes. Forget about it, son of Frey. I don't hold a grudge. Besides, when Odin received my severed head, he didn't take revenge. See, the Allfather was smart. He knew the Vanir and Aesir had to unite against our common enemy, the Triads. Blitz adjusted his hat. I think you mean the giants, boss. Right, those guys. So Odin carried me into a hidden cave in Jotunheim, where his magical spring feeds the roots of Yggdrasil. He placed my head in the well. The water brought me back to life, and I soaked in all the knowledge of the world tree. My wisdom has increased 1,000-fold. But you're still a severed head. Mimir made a sideways nod. It's not so bad. I operate across the 9 worlds. Loans, protection, Pachinko machines. Pachinko is huge. Pachinko? Plus, I'm always working to delay Ragnarok. Ragnarok will be bad for business. Right. I decided to sit down, because it seemed like this could take a while. Once I did, Sam and Hearth followed my example. Chickens. Also, Mimir said, Odin visits me for advice from time to time. I'm his consigliere. I guard the well of knowledge. Sometimes I let travelers drink from its waters. That kind of intel never comes without a price. The word price settled over the dock like a heavy blanket. Blitzen sat so still I was afraid he'd turn to stone. Hearthstone studied the grain of the planks. I began to understand how my friends had gotten involved with Mimir. They'd drunk from his waters, gross, and paid the price by watching me for the past 2 years. I wondered if they'd learned, what they'd learned had been worth it. So great and well-connected, Mimir, I said. What do you want with me? Mimir spit out a minnow. I don't have to tell you, boy-yo. You already know. I wanted to disagree, but the longer I listened to Mimir, the more I felt like I was breathing pure oxygen. I don't know why. The capo wasn't exactly inspiring, yet being around him, my mind seemed to function better, weaving together bits and pieces of weirdness I'd experienced over the last few days into one strangely cohesive picture. An illustration from my old children's book of Norse myths came to me, a tale so terrifying. Even in its watered-down kiddie version, I had buried in my memory for years. The wolf. I said, Cert wants to free Fenris Wolf. I was hoping somebody would contradict me. Hearth lowered his head. Sam closed her eyes like she was praying. Fenris, said Blitzen. There's a name I was hoping never to hear again. Mimir kept crying ice water. His lips curled in a faint smile. There you go, son of Frey. Now tell me, what do you know about Fenris Wolf? I buttoned my hunting jacket. The wind off the river seemed cold, even to me. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'd love to be wrong. Ages ago, Loki had an affair with a giantess. They had 3 monstrous kids. I was not one of them, Sam muttered. I've heard all the jokes. Hearthstone winced, like he was wondering about that. One, I said, was a huge snake, Jormungand, Sam said, the world serpent, which Odin threw into the sea. The second was Hel, I continued. She became like a goddess of the dishonorable dead. And the third, Blitzen said, was Fenris Wolf. His tone was bitter, full of pain. Blitz, I said, you sound like you know him. Every dwarf knows Fenris. That was the first time Aesir came to us for help. Fenris grew so savage he would have devoured the gods. They tried to tie him up, but he broke every chain. I remember, I said. Finally, the dwarves made a rope strong enough to hold him. Ever since, Blitz said, the children of Fenris have been enemies of the dwarves. He looked up, his dark shades reflecting my face. You're not the only one who's lost family to wolves, kid. I had a strange urge to hug him. Suddenly, I didn't feel so bad about all the time he'd spent watching me. We were brothers in something more than homeless. Still, I resisted the impulse. Whenever I'm tempted to hug a dwarf, that's usually a sign I need to move along. On Ragnarok, I said, the day of doom, one of the first things that's supposed to happen is Fenris gets freed. Sam nodded. The old stories don't say how that happens. But one way, Blitz said, would be to cut him loose. The rope, Gleipnir, is unbreakable. But Frey's sword, Hearth signed. It's the sharpest blade in the 9 worlds. Cert wants to free the wolf with my father's sword. I looked at Mimir. How are we doing so far? Not bad, the head burbled. Which brings us to your task. Stop Cert, I said. Find the sword before he does, assuming he hasn't got it already. He doesn't, Mimir said. Believe me, an event like that would make the 9 worlds tremble. I'd taste fear in the waters of Yggdrasil. Yuck, I said. You have no idea, said Mimir. But you must hurry. The Norn's prophecy, 9 days hence, blah, blah, blah. Water bubbled out of Mimir's ears. I'm pretty sure they didn't say blah, blah, blah. However, you're correct. The island where the gods imprisoned Fenris is only accessible on the first full moon of each year. That's now 7 days hence. Who makes up these rules? I asked. I made up that rule, Mimir said, so shut up. Find the sword. Reach the island before Cert does. Sam raised her hand. Lord Mimir, I understand finding the sword, but why take it to the island? Isn't that where Cert wants the sword? See, Miss Albabas? That is why I'm the boss and you're not. Yeah, bringing the sword to the island is dangerous. Yeah, Cert could use it to free the wolf, but Cert is going to find a way to free Fenris with or without it. Did I mention I can see the future, right? The only person who might be able to stop Cert is Magnus Chase, assuming he can find the sword and learn to wield it properly. I'd shut up for almost a whole minute, so I figured I could raise my hand. Lord Mr. Bubbles, Mimir. If this sword is such a big deal, why did everybody let it sit on the bottom of the Charles River for 1,000 years? Mimir sighed foam. My regular minions never ask so many questions. Blitz coughed. Actually, we do, boss. You just ignore us. To answer your question, Magnus Chase, the sword can only be found by a descendant of Frey upon reaching the age of maturity. Others have tried, failed, and died. Right now, you are the only living descendant of Frey. The only one in the world? In the 9 worlds. Frey doesn't get out much anymore. Your mother, she must have been really something to attract his attention. Anyway, a lot of people in the 9 worlds, gods, giants, bookies, you name it, have been waiting for you to turn 16. Some wanted you killed so you couldn't find the sword. Some wanted you to succeed. Hot pins pressed against the base of my neck. The idea that a bunch of gods peering through the Asgardian telescopes watching me grow creeped me out. My mom must have known all along. She'd done her best to keep me safe, teach me survival skills. The night the wolves attacked our apartment, she'd given her life to save me. I met the capo's watery eyes. And you? I asked. What do you want? You're a risky bet, Magnus. A lot of possible fates intersect in your life. You could deal the forces of evil a great step back and delay Ragnarok for generations. Or, if you fail, you could hasten the day of doom. I tried to swallow. Hasten it? Like, by how much? How does next week work for you? Oh. I decided to take the bet, Mimir said. After the children of Fenris killed your mother, I sent Blitz and Hearth to guard you. You probably don't realize how many times they've saved your life. Hearth held up 7 fingers. I shuddered, but mostly of the mention of Fenris's 2 children, the wolves with blue eyes. To succeed, said Mimir, you're going to need this team. Hearthstone here, he's dedicated his life to rune magic. Without him, you'll fail. You'll also need an able dwarf like Blitzen, who understands dwarven crafting. You might need to strengthen the wolf's bindings, or even replace them. Blitz shifted. Boss, my crafting skills are, well, you know. Don't give me that, said Mimir. No dwarf has a stouter heart. No dwarf has traveled farther in the 9 worlds or has more desire to help Fenris, to keep Fenris chained. Also, you're in my service. You'll do what I say. Ah, Blitzen nodded. When you put it that way. What about me, Lord Mimir? Asked Sam. What's my part in your plan? Mimir frowned. Around his beard, the water bubbled a darker shade of green. You weren't part of the plan at all. There's a cloud around your fate, Miss Albabas. Taking Magnus to Valhalla? I didn't see that coming. That wasn't supposed to happen. Sam looked away, her lips pressed tight with anger. Sam's got a part to play, I said. I'm sure of it. Do not patronize me, Magnus. I chose you because... She stopped herself. It was supposed to happen. I remembered what she said at the feast hall. I was told. I was promised. By whom? I decided not to ask that in front of the capo. Mimer studied her. I hope you're right, Miss Albabas. When Magnus first took the sword from the river, he couldn't control it very well. Maybe now that he's in Einergy, he'll have the strength, in which case you've saved the day. Or maybe you've completely messed up his destiny. We're going to succeed, I insisted. Just 2 questions. Where's the sword, and where's the island? Mimer nodded, which made him look like an oversized fish bobber. Well, that's the trick, isn't it? To find that kind of information, you'll have to tear the veils between the worlds, grease a lot of palms, and see into the realms of other gods. Couldn't we just drink your magic well water? You could, he agreed, but it would cost you. Are you and Simra Albabas ready to be bound to my service? Har's face froze in apprehension. From the tension in Blitz's shoulders, I guessed he was trying very hard not to leap to his feet and scream, "Don't do it." You couldn't make an exception? I asked the capo, seeing how you want this job done. No can do, boyo. I'm not being greedy. It's just, well, you get what you pay for. Something comes cheap, it ain't worth much. That's true for knowledge, especially. You can pay for a shortcut, get the information right now, or you'll have to find it on your own, the hard way. Sam crossed her arms. Apologies, Lord Mimer. I may be kicked out of the Valkyries, but I still consider myself bound to Odin's service. I cannot take another master. Magnus can make his own choice. But we'll figure it out on our own, I agreed. Mimer made a low, sloshing sound. He looked almost impressed. Interesting choice. Good luck, then. If you succeed, you'll have a house account at all my Pachinko parlors. If you fail, I'll see you next week for Doomsday. The god's head swirled and disappeared into the icy water of the lagoon. He flushed himself, I said. Hearth looked even paler than usual. What now? My stomach rumbled. I hadn't eaten anything since last night, and apparently my system had gotten spoiled after a couple of all-you-can-eat Viking buffets. Now? I said. I'm thinking lunch.